It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Boston Red Sox. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Sunday to you, wherever you may be. Welcome to the rubber game of the three-game series with the Red Sox. And in case you missed it, last night the Giants beat Steven Strasburg. That means Strasburg's record is 15-2, and the defeats administered by the Dodgers and the Giants. Today, the Giants sent Madison Bumgarner to the mound. In the seventh inning, the catcher Wilson Ramos of Washington hit a home run, and Washington beat Bumgarner 1-0. So when the Dodgers take the field today, they'll be 1.5 behind San Francisco. A victory would cut it to 1. As far as the Red Sox are concerned, they're 2 back of Baltimore and Toronto, and they will send the talented left-hander David Price to the mound. You may remember a couple of years ago, David was a 20-game winner, 20-5 for Tampa Bay. Struggling right now with a record of 9-7, although it's true the bullpen let 4 possible victories get away. He is 1-3 in his last 8 starts, and the Dodgers will be going up against him for the first time, except back in 2013, he pitched 7 innings here, did not allow a run, and was not involved in the decision. Brandon McCarthy is 2-2. He is 3-4 lifetime against the Red Sox. So those are the numbers. Stay tuned for a good ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this. HBO. Hard Knocks training camp with the Los Angeles Rams, Tuesday at 10 p.m. Kicking off August 9th on HBO. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Sunday to you, wherever you may be. Brandon McCarthy walking to the mound to get things started at Dodger Stadium on a blue sky afternoon. There's not a cloud up there, although the mountains way back at center field are still somewhat shrouded, but otherwise crystal clear and a magnificent day to play a ball game at Dodger Stadium. Also, two contending ball clubs. The Red Sox are 2 games back of Baltimore and Toronto. And in case you missed it, the Giants lost today. Madison Bumgarner gave up a home run in the bottom of the 7th inning, and Washington beat the Giants 1-0. So the Dodgers right now are a game and a half back. Should they win, they would trail by a game. Here's John Farrell's club and the lineup card that he presented. Mookie Betts leading off in right field. Jackie Bradley Jr. in center field. Xander Bogaerts at short. Dustin Pedroia banged up from Friday night. Didn't play yesterday. Back in the lineup today, to no one's surprise. Travis Shaw at first. Brock Holt at third. Brian Holiday will be the catcher. Andrew Benintendi will be in left field. And the left-hander David Price on the mound. On the mound for the Dodgers, Brandon McCarthy. Rich Hill was supposed to play. As you probably know if you're following the ball club, Hill has blister problems, so it's going to be a while, maybe Friday, before he pitches. Julio will be on the mound tomorrow against Philadelphia. Urias had a big day already today because he not only met David Ortiz, whom he idolizes, he had his picture taken with Ortiz, so that was a big day indeed for the 19-year-old. For Brandon McCarthy, getting ready to face Betts, Bradley, and Bogaerts, the so-called B-boys, and they have been stinging pitchers in the American League all year long. Betts hitting .310, 23 home runs, 73 runs batted in, and he's had 48 multi-hit games so far this year. That's number one. That's right-hand batter. Gary Cedarstrom, the plate umpire, holding things up for a moment. We're still looking to see what the holdup's about. I don't see a ball on the field or anything like that. And now we're about ready. Mookie Betts will tell you a 1 in a million story. His first major league hit was a ground ball single up the middle against the Yankees. Breaking ball is off the plate, ball 1. However, his first major league home run was in Fenway Park in the seats atop the Green Monster. It was caught by a fella he knew. The 1-0 pitch is way outside to the backstop, ball 2. It was a fella that Mookie had played a lot of baseball against when they were in high school. So naturally, having it caught by a friend, he got the ball back immediately, and that, of course, went to his mom, who had a great deal to do with his upbringing. 2-0 pitch, and Mookie takes low, ball 3. Just to make it official on this gorgeous day, the temperature 79 degrees. Three and 0 the count to Mookie Betts. McCarthy ready and comes back way inside. That pops out of the mid of Grandal. So Betts opens up the ball game with a walk. And we can take a look at the Dodgers defensively. Gonzalez and Kendrick, Seager and Turner. Rob Seguin in left field making his debut. Keith Hernandez in center. Josh Reddick in right. And Yasmani Grandal behind the plate. They're going to load up the right side of the infield for Bradley, which means Justin Turner is the middleman of the three, and Corey Seager remains all alone on the left side. Jackie Bradley Jr. hitting .289, 17 home runs, 62 runs batted in. He wears actually Junior on the back of his shirt. It's a tribute to his father. And the first pitch, Betts takes off. The throw is high. He came off? No, he was able to stay on the bag. Mookie had his foot on the inside corner of the bag, and for a moment it looked like he had gone off. Kendrick was all set to tag him, but no cigar. So it's a stolen base. Mookie Betts has not done any running in the series, but that's his 18th. He's stolen 18 out of 21. There's where he barely stayed on the bag. So Betts steals second. Bradley now waiting, takes a pitch and lifts it into left center. It's playable. Kike Hernandez is under it, makes the catch. Betts holds, and a good strong throw cut off by Corey Seager. So one away in the first inning.
Shortstop number 2, Xander Bogaerts.
Xander Bogart coming up, the young man from Aruba. We were telling the story yesterday. It's of some interest. Aruba is pretty much off the plate, just like Curacao, and it's very rare that a major league scout would come to Aruba. And the word got out, hey, there's a scout on the island. Well, Bogaerts had the chicken pox, 102 fever, but that wasn't going to stop a young kid at 16. A scout? So he crawled out of bed, went to the tryout, hit a ball out of sight, and the Red Sox signed him. He takes a slow curveball in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Yesterday, the Red Sox looked like they were off and running. They had 2 base hits back to back, a walk to load the bases, but they came up empty thanks to a great play by Howie Kendrick. Here's the strike 1 pitch on the way, and that goes all the way to the backstop, and over to third goes Betts. The last time that McCarthy pitched, he was talking about the fact that he never felt like he had ever thrown a baseball before. His last start was in Colorado, and he lasted 3 innings. So he's a little bit shaky today. He's had a couple of pitches in the dirt. Now he throws one to the backstop. So a runner at third, 1 out. Brandon trying to settle down in the first inning after all the years he's had in the game. Pitching out of a stretch, and Bogart's waiting on a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Outfield about straight away. McCarthy ready, comes over the top, and the pitch is low in the dirt, blocked by Grandal. So Grandal and McCarthy don't really look like they're on the same page for the moment. In fact, Grandal went out once to the mound just to talk to McCarthy. Meanwhile, Dave Roberts, who can sense any inconsistency, very much alert now, watching McCarthy struggle just a little. Runner at third, 1 out, just starting. McCarthy a high setter on the collarbone, and a breaking ball is whacked into center. Going back to get it is Kike to make the catch. He has a very strong arm, but it's not enough to prevent Betts from scoring. So a walk, stolen base, wild pitch, fly ball, and the Red Sox are on the board.
Second baseman number 15, Dustin Pedroia.
So the Red Sox take the 1-0 lead. Here's Dustin Pedroia, the spark plug, hitting .298. Played into the 4th inning Friday night, fouled the ball off his shin and had to come out. He takes the first pitch in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Pedroia in that game had hit into a double play, grounded out, and then fouled the ball off the shin. 0-1. Dustin, big swing and a miss, and the count 0-2. Pedroia, the outspoken spark plug. As my mother used to say, full of the old Harry. I'm never really sure. I think that full of the old Harry had to do with Henry VIII. The next pitch to the backstop. So McCarthy and Grandal struggling a little here at the outset. 1-0 favor the Red Sox. Red Sox over the years have beaten the Dodgers 8 times, and the Dodgers have returned the favor 6 times. 1-2 the count. McCarthy delivers, breaking ball foul back, and Pedroia is still up there battling. He is a remarkable player, is Dustin. Everybody comments on the fact that he has certainly gotten the most out of his stature, but he plays like he's 7 feet tall. Pedroia, right-hand batter. McCarthy ready and comes back and throws another one to the backstop. I'm not sure quite what's wrong, whether it's the mound. but he has had several now, including one that really hurt him. And he's not just missing. I mean, he would be throwing behind a left-hand batter, if you can imagine that. It's a right-hand hitter, Pedroia, at the plate. 2-2 the count. McCarthy delivers. Breaking ball hit foul down the right field line. Still 2-2 to Dustin Pedroia. Pedroia, the spark plug, has been with the Red Sox since 2006. Rookie of the Year in 2007. American League MVP 2008. And he hits a high fly ball to left center. It appears playable, and it's going to be caught by Rob Segedin, and that'll be that. So a wild McCarthy. He still only walked one, but he threw several to the backstop. And the run is in, and at the end of half an inning, the Red Sox lead 1-0. Wild side made 17 pitches, and the wild pitch gave the Red Sox a run. So the Dodgers now line up this way. Howie Kendrick at second base, Corey Seager at short, Justin Turner at third, Adrian Gonzalez at first base. Kike Hernandez in center field, Josh Reddick in right, Yasmani Grandal behind the plate, Rob Segedin in left field making his big league debut, and then Brandon McCarthy. David Price on the mound. You go back to 2012, he was a 20-game winner, 20-5 with the Rays, and been around in the big leagues for quite a while. Started in 2008. The left-hander's first pitch to Howie Kendrick is popped up on the right side, and it will be the right fielder coming in, Mookie Betts, to make the catch. So one pitch and one out, and here comes Corey Seager. In Dodger history, make it Los Angeles Dodger history, most doubles by a rookie. Corey Seager with 31. Eric Karros had 30, Raul Mondesi 27, Todd Hollandsworth 26, along with Russell Martin. So Seager moves atop the heap as he checks in. Corey batting .303, 19 home runs, 52 runs batted in, and he takes the strike. The veteran David Price on the mound, working on Corey Seager. One out, bottom of the first. Red Sox lead 1-0. Price ready and comes back. Fastball grounded to the hole. Backhanded by Bogaerts. The throw on a bounce in time. What a play by Xander Bogaerts. At the other end of it, Travis Shaw handling on the hop. So with two down in the first inning, the batter will be Justin Turner. That's worth another look if you're watching on TV. Leaping in the air and then a perfect one-hopper to the first baseman. Two down, Justin Turner coming up. Bogaerts a dandy at short. Turner checking in, 2 out, bases empty, hitting .275 with a modest 7-game hitting streak, 19 home runs, 64 runs batted in, and he takes a strike. David Taylor Price, 2012, he was the American League Cy Young winner. That's when he went 20-5. Works the plate and misses, and it's a 1-ball, 1-strike count. At one time, very early, he turned down an offer for $1 million from the Dodgers. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. Left-hander's fastball is low. Of course, he turned down $1 million from the Dodgers. His salary, I believe, this year alone is a little over $30 million. So he has prospered and done very well. He was drafted by the Devil Rays out of high school. Ground ball hit by Turner. Bogarts up with it, throws him out, and a very nice tidy first inning for the left-hander David Price. And at the end of an inning, Red Sox 1, Dodgers nothing. In favor of Boston, it will be Travis Shaw, Brock Holt, and then Brian Holliday. And for McCarthy, who is basically and has always been a control pitcher, it was a nightmare first inning, although he only gave up 1 run. Travis Shaw, boy, it's amazing to see young kids grow up and become ball players. Travis takes a strike. When his dad was here, Travis was about 8 years old. His father, Jeff, relieved for the Dodgers from 1998 through 2001. Travis fouls it away, and the count 0-2. And all of us remember seeing Travis, little guy running around in the clubhouse, one of those typical rugrats that you see. And he has grown up. He's 6'4", 235, 26 years old, and a strike 2 pitches behind him to the backstop. Boy, McCarthy is having as bad a day as the last time he pitched. So 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. That was right behind the hips of Travis Shaw. McCarthy trying to figure out what in the heck is going on here. Comes back with a pitch fouled away. So Brandon McCarthy, a veteran right-hander. McCarthy, a fellow who has pitched long and well. 11 years in the big leagues, 57 wins. As we said, always a control pitcher. His 1-2 pitch is hit in the air to left field. It's playable. Rob Seguin comes in and makes the catch. So Travis Shaw, son of Jeff, flies to left, one down. Brock Holt
12,
coming up.
Brock Holt.
Brock, left-hand batter. Brock Wyatt Holt out of Texas. By the way, in talking with Travis, talking about the days that he hung out, his favorite Dodgers were Sean Green, Eric Karros, and Gary Sheffield. First pitch is off the plate, ball one to Holt. Red Sox have a long day and a long night. The 1-0 pitch on the way. O'Neill's great line. Long day's journey into night. Well, for the Red Sox, they have a long day's journey into night, back into daylight again. Remember, it might only be 4:30 here. It's already 7:30 in Boston. So if the game goes 3 hours, that'll be about 7:15 our time, 10:15 in Boston. Take 2 hours at least to get the team off the ground, and it's about a 6-hour flight to Beantown. So they'll arrive the Monday morning traffic jam. I think they're off. We should double check. Yes, they are. Mercifully, at least they do not play.
Catcher number 59, Ryan Holiday.
Off tomorrow, and then what a surprise. They play the Yankees. Do the Red Sox ever play anybody else but the Yankees? Anyway, that's they're going to play. So Holt at first, one out. And here's Holiday. Spells it differently than the big outfielder for the Cardinals. This Holiday spells it H-O-L-A-D-A-Y. John Bryan Holiday out of Dallas, Texas, originally signed by the Tigers out of Texas Christian University, and takes a strike. Of course, the Red Sox catcher in the first two games, Sandy Leon, what a big night he had the first game of the series. 4 RBIs. Holiday, along with Price, coming from Detroit, so they figure to work together pretty well. 0-1 the count, with Benintendi on deck. Hard ground ball to Turner, down to second, back to first, double play, and the inning is over. So around the horn, 5-4-3 double play. No runs, no hits, nobody left. At the end of an inning and a half, 1-0 Boston. Sacrifice fly scoring Mookie Betts. That makes it 1-0 Red Sox. Here they are. Shaw, Pedroia, Bogarts, and Holt. And the outfield, Benintendi, Bradley, and Betts. So the B-boys are all out there. Holiday behind the plate. And David Price, first pitch off the plate. 1 ball and no strikes. Meanwhile, in the Dodger dugout, a little clinic. Dave Roberts and Rick Honeycutt talking to an absolutely out of sorts Brandon McCarthy. He just at that stage where he seems confused. Meanwhile, Price delivers and slips it in for a strike, and the count 1-1. David Price facing Adrian Gonzalez. Price has allowed more home runs on the first pitch than any other pitcher this year. He got by with Gonzalez. It's a 1 ball, 1 strike count. Breaking ball is swung on and missed. 1-2. Price has served up 8 home runs on the first pitch. And of course, he has done a lot more than that. He's allowed 17 home runs this year. Of course, he could easily have a better record. He had 4 possible wins that were given up by the bullpen. David ready, and his 1-2 pitch on the way. Swung on, hitting a line to left center. Coming up to snare it is Bradley. And boy, did he get a good jump. Bradley was in motion, it seemed, just as the ball was leaving the bat. So a nice play by the center fielder, Jackie Bradley Jr. There are those who travel with the Red Sox who are talking about he's a great center fielder. Not a good one, not a very good one. They say great. Veteran broadcaster Joe Castiglione says he's the best center fielder I've ever seen. The first pitch now to Kike Hernandez, misses on the corner, make it a strike. 0-1. Hernandez with Reddick on deck. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Swung on and missed. Of course, the Red Sox have had some wonderful center fielders. If you're old enough, you might remember Dom DiMaggio, who was a great center fielder. And you know, one of the best of all time, Jimmy Pearsall. You remember Jimmy? He played with the Angels briefly. Strike 2 pitch on the way was high. Pearsall had a lot of mental issues, lots of problems. But boy, he was a remarkable athlete. Pearsall would do strange things. He'd go out to the outfield carrying an orange and throw it at the White Sox scoreboard. For what reason, nobody knows. He was always tempted to run the bases backwards. Yeah. But it was sad because he was so gifted that he had a lot of problems. Meanwhile, David Price working on Kike Hernandez. Veteran left-hander at the belt. David ready. And back he comes 1-2, and that's outside. 2-2 the count. The postseason has always been a headache for David Price. In his book, he is 2-7 in postseason play. And of course, fans never let you forget that. 2-2 to Kike Hernandez. Price ready and deals high with a fastball. Ball 3. David is a strikeout pitcher, but he also gives up hits. Interesting, he has given up 157 hits, and he has struck out 156. David ready, and the 3-2 pitch is taken for ball 4. So Kike takes off the shin guard, trots to first, and the batter now, Josh Reddick. For Reddick, it finally happened yesterday. His first Dodger base hit. Clean as a whistle line drive to right field. His previous at bat in the 6th inning, he hit a vicious line drive, and that was speared by, of all people, David Ortiz. Ortiz played a little yesterday, but his legs stiffen up, and he's be the pinch hitter today, not the DH, of course. First pitch high, 1 ball and no strike to Rosh. Josh Reddick's dad had an absolute disaster happen, and actually his sons had a lot to do in bringing the father back. 1 ball and no strikes the count. Price set at the belt, looks over at first. Now comes to his hitter. Reddick swings, doesn't get it. His father was a lineman, a first-class lineman as well, working for the power company and he was shocked, are you ready, with 75,000 votes. In fact, his father actually was dead for about 2 or 3 minutes before they finally revived him. 1-1 pitch is taken low, ball 2. His father at the time was only 24. He lost half of his left arm, his index finger, middle finger, half of the ring finger on the right hand, and his father suddenly became terribly self-conscious. And it was his boys who said, "Hey, Dad, we don't care what you look like. Come on, let's go out in the yard." 2-1 pitch on the way. That's high and tied, ball 3, 3-1. And so it's a double inspiration. The father was inspired by the outlook of his sons, and the sons were inspired by the outlook of the father, that despite that terrible break, brought them up so very, very well. Well, here's young Josh with a 3-1 count. Price ready, set, and here he comes. Swung on, chopper foul outside of first and down the line. 3-2 the count. When Reddick was traded to the Dodgers, one of his former teammates texted to him, "I'm sending you a map of all the Arby's in Los Angeles." And then Justin Turner climbed in and said, "Hey, there's an Arby's right down the street. I'll bring whatever you want to the ballpark." Here's the 3-2 pitch coming up to Josh. Fastball reached for and lifted to shallow left. Benintini is there to make the catch. 2 down, and the batter, Yasmani Grandal. Yeah, so when Turner volunteered to pick up the stuff, Reddick immediately wired back, "You're my MVP." Yeah, so it goes behind the scenes in a big league ball club. Yasmani Grandal checking in, hitting .227, 16 home runs, 46 runs batted in, little 6-game hitting streak. Grandal, 14 of the 16 home runs hit left-handed. Price at the belt, looks over at first at Kike, now to the plate, and gets a strike in the count 0-1. One to nothing, favor of Boston. Bottom of the second inning. Price usually gets a lot of ground balls, and he got 2 in the first inning. He comes back, no balls and 1 strike, and it's swung on and missed, and the count 0-2. David's a strikeout pitcher, and of course Grandal is a hard swinging hitter who has struck out 73 times. 0-2 the count. By the way, he has the 3rd highest number of 0-2 counts in the American League. Strike 2 pitch, way high, ball 1. That brought Holiday out of his crouch to bring it back down. With Price, if you break it down, about 25% of the plate appearances against him result in strikeouts. He's big. He's 6'6", 225 pounds. Price ready, and the left hand is 1-2. Breaking ball whacked into left field for a base hit. So he did Grandal a bit of a favor. Tried to take a little off it. It came up there at 80 miles an hour, and Grandal tracked it and banged it into left field.
Rob Segedin.
2 on, 2 out, second inning, no score. Rob Segedin breaking in as a Dodger. He had 1 appearance with Tampa back in 2012, and pretty good year. He had .297. But he has had so many physical problems. It's a tribute to him. He's 6'3" and 220, 27 years old. He'll be 28 in November. And just to really pep him up, his wife Robin is here today, and she's due to present him with their first child in about 2 weeks. Rob from New Jersey, and the right-hand batter checks in. Price's fastball, slow roller to third, charging, picking up, firing, and getting is Brooke Holt, and that's the inning. So Segedin doesn't hang around, taps to third. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left, and at the end of 2, 1-0 Boston. Shortstop Corey Seager. That'll be Thursday, August 25th. Dodgers and Giants, and the first 40,000 in attendance receive a Corey Seager bobblehead presented by your Southern California BMW Centers. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Third inning, 1-0 favor the Red Sox. Andrew Benintendi will start it off. Benintendi followed by David Price and then Mookie Betts. Benintendi, very young, just starting out, takes a strike. It's amazing. A bonus boy signed last year, and here he is playing in the big leagues. Strike one pitch on the way. It's low and away off Grandal's glove, and it goes to the backstop. The last time that McCarthy went to the mound and pitched, it was shocking. In 3 innings, he walked 5, and that's just not McCarthy. But he was wild. Well, today he's been wild. Gave up a walk, and it cost him a run because of his wild pitch in the first inning. 1-1 pitch is low to Benintendi. Andrew, out of the University of Arkansas, born, raised, still lives in Cincinnati. And for McCarthy now, he made 85 pitches on that wobbly start against Colorado. 2-1 pitch on the way, swung on, whacked into left field, base hit. So Benintendi comes up with his third big league hit. Not bad, 3 for 10. So just starting out, he's hitting 300. They think the world of him. Mark it down. And here comes David Price. David Price, 2 for 42. Last hit was 6 years ago at Florida. Dodgers figuring he is certainly going to be up there to bunt. Left-hand batter against right-hand pitching, pulls the bat back, no swing, and a 1-ball, no strike count. David Price, he likes shoes. Well, a lot of guys like shoes. A lot of ladies love shoes. But he likes them enough. He says he has about 50 pair of shoes in his closet. Pops the bunt up, and it's caught by Turner. So he can take those size 13s and walk back to the dugout, popping the bunt up to Turner. So Mookie Betts walked in the first inning, promptly stole second, took third on a wild pitch, came home on the fly ball by Xander Bogaerts, and that's the Red Sox lead, 1-0. Mookie, 310, 23 home runs, 73 RBIs, and has stolen 18 out of 21. So Mookie is quite a player, quite a bowler. If you've ever bowled at all, you certainly have great respect for anyone who ever bowled a 300 game. Well, he's bowled quite a few. Throw to first. Back to the bag is Benintendi. Benintendi, by the way, does not have a stolen base, but he's only been in 5 games, and he now has 10 at-bats. So he takes a pretty good lead right away. McCarthy out of his stretch, looks over his shoulder. There goes Benintendi. The pitch, a strike. The throw, he is safe. So Benintendi, who was only 22 and just starting in the minors, he stole 8 out of 10, 7 out of 8. So obviously he's got the speed, now learning the moves of the pitchers. So the Red Sox have issued the warning to Brandon McCarthy. We are going to and we can steal bases against you. And he almost threw one to the backstop. That was a big save, like a goalie on a bad hockey team, by Yasmani Grandal. 2 stolen bases against McCarthy. We're in the third inning. Brandon trying to settle down. 1-0 Red Sox, top of the third. McCarthy's off-speed pitch way inside. That runs the count to 2-1. Red Sox 9 games above 500 at home, 2 games above 500 on the road, and they've beaten the National League 9 out of 13. 2-1 pitch, way behind him and hit him. Wow, whatever it is with McCarthy. And I'll tell you the terrible thing that can happen. I mean, here's a fella who has survived injuries, and now he's losing his control. Talking about surviving, Mookie Betts hit by the pitch and just standing. That ball got him high up on the left thigh. Anyway, there are pitchers who suddenly can't throw strikes. One of the saddest stories I ever saw involved a Dodger pitcher. God willing it wouldn't happen to McCarthy or anybody else. His name was Rex Barney, and in his early year he pitched a no-hitter against the Giants, and it got so he could not throw a strike. And we were in Asheville, North Carolina, just an ordinary exhibition game. Charlie Dressen said to him, look, all I want you to do is play catch with your buddy, the catcher, Bruce Edwards. That's all. Never mind location, just play catch with him. Now, in Asheville, North Carolina, the dugouts were literally cut into the wall, and the bats were not in a bat rack. They were leaning up against the wall outside the dugout. First pitch now to Bradley Jr., outside, ball 1. Rex Barney's first pitch hit the bats. I mean, he had to be 10 feet off the market. Hit the bats. And he threw something like 28 pitches and could not throw a strike. And it got so into his head it ruined him. 1-0 pitch, missing, ball 2. So it's not just a matter of learning how to throw and how to not tip off your pitches and how to control this and that, but it becomes very much of a psychological issue unless you get over it. 2-0 the count now to Bradley. 2 on, 1 out, 1-0 favor the Red Sox. And that's another pitch, ball 3. One other thing about that story, it's the only time in my years I ever saw something happen. Charlie Dressen said to the Dodger traveling secretary, Harold Parrott, go to my office and there's a brown paper bag, bring it here. They brought it to, it was brandy in the bag. The next pitch is inside, that gets away from Grandal, but the bases are going to be loaded. So anyway, Charlie Dressen poured a little whiskey in this little paper cup like you'd see at the dentist and said, Rex, drink it. Maybe it'll just calm you down. Now, he had one whiskey before a game. I mean, I couldn't believe it. But again, that was such a big problem. Anything. And then Rex said, fine, Charlie. And again, he said, just play catch with Bruce Edwards. Never mind location. These are kid hitters or what. Nope. Could not do it. Career ruined. Rex Barney wound up, and what a wonderful guy. Wound up with a great sense of humor as the Baltimore Oriole public address announcer. Rex Barney. So I'm not wishing that on McCarthy at all, but what I am saying, it can become a real psychological problem. All right, Honeycutt's gone out, talked to him. In a moment, bases loaded. A single, a hit batter, and a walk. And now here's Xander Bogaerts, who had the scoring fly ball in the first inning. There's 1 out here in the third. 1-0 Red Sox. So the Sox are hanging out on the lines, all right. Benintendi at third, Betts at second, Bradley at first. And McCarthy trying to find a solution. Right-handed delivers, and the first pitch is a strike. 0-1. Crowd, of course, rooting for him, hoping that he can back to be the control pitcher he has always been. Bogaerts has 1 grand slam in his career. McCarthy out of a stretch. Strike 1 pitch on the way, swung on and missed. 0-2. Benintendi at third, Betts at second, Bradley at first, 1 out. Waiting on deck, Dustin Pedroia. McCarthy well ahead of the hitter now, 0-2. Bogart's waiting. Brandon delivers. Hard ground foul outside of third down the line. So it's still 0-2. Xander Bogaerts, the boy from Aruba. He refers to people from Curacao as being brothers. Luis Avilan begins to warm up in the Dodger bullpen. McCarthy's already made 45 pitches. 0-2 the count to Bogaerts. McCarthy's next pitch, ground ball to short. Seager over Kendrick, back to first, double play. So the Dodgers come up with the double play ball, and that'll be that for the Red Sox. No run, a hit, 2 left, and at the end of 2.5, 1-0 Boston. One to nothing in favor of the Red Sox. Sox have stumbled into 2 double plays that put the jam on an offense, but they're still leading 1-0. Brandon McCarthy checking in against David Price. Fastball is in for a strike, and the count 0-1. By the way, on this Sunday afternoon, have you ever heard the Red Sox or Boston being called Beantown? Yeah, sure you have. 0-2 the count to McCarthy. Well, believe it or not, when you talk about beans and Boston, you really begin the story with molasses. The next pitch in there, and that'll do it for McCarthy. 3 looks, and down he goes for David Price, his first strikeout, and the batter Howie Kendrick. Boston's active partaking in the so-called triangular trade, and their molasses export was huge. And the molasses within the city was a prominent food staple. And what they would do is, when they had their beans, their special beans, they would mix in molasses. And these were then called Boston baked beans, not just baked beans. Hard to find a restaurant serving those famous beans, but there are good recipes, and you always begin with beans and molasses. That's it. That's not going to stop traffic or anything like that, but Rob Menchel looked it up for us because we were wondering about Beantown. Little nubber in front of the plate. Kendrick is done on the good throw by Brian Holiday, and we have 2 out in the third.
Number 5,
Anything that'll get you through the day, that's our battle. So a little molasses, and here's Corey Seager. Seager with 19 home runs, 52 runs batted in. Dodger rookie doubles. He still has a long way to go. He takes a strike. Johnny Frederick, back in 1929, had 52 doubles for Brooklyn. Zach Wheat had 36. Babe Herman, 35. Seager, Gilliam, and Jackie Robinson, 31. And the high foul is dropped by Holliday. So we will see just how important that is. Remember, Price and Holliday were teammates at Detroit. It's always a shock when you see a big league catcher drop a foul ball. They usually make it look so easy, but not that time. So it'll be an error charge to Holliday and an extra chance to swing for Corey Seager. Price ready. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Swung on and missed, and down he goes anyway. So at the end of 3, it remains Red Sox 1, Dodgers nothing. Earlier today, the baseball world stopped to admire Ichiro, who will be 43 years old in October. Hits one off the scoreboard in Colorado, and those 43-year-old legs turned him all the way to a triple and his 3,000th hit. Meanwhile, Dustin Pedroia takes a strike, 0-1. Ichiro, now the 30th member of the 3,000 hit club. 1 ball and 1 strike. Paul Molitor are the only 2 to reach 3,000 by hitting a triple, wouldn't you know. Here's the 1-1 pitch to Dustin Pedroia, way inside, ball 2. For Ichiro, his best hits would be 2004 when he had 262, and he's had 200 hits in 10 years. So remarkable 3,000 hits. High fly ball to left field and deep. Going back on the ball is Seguin and makes the catch right at the left field wall. 1 down. So talking about career hits, let's take a look, and here they are. Alex Rodriguez, who announced his retirement today. He will play on Friday, and that'll be that. Then you have Ichiro. Adrian Beltre is not too far away, about 122. Albert Pujols at 27.74. Carlos Beltran, 25.70. So heartiest congratulations to Ichiro, who is Ichiban, which means number one. Travis Shaw flied to left field in the second inning. 1-0 Red Sox. For Ichiro, of course, he didn't stop with just 3,000 hits. Hard ground ball wedged in the hole, picked by Matlock, and the throw in time. Another wonderful play by Howie Kendrick. It's remarkable. Kendrick has played so well in left field. He's rarely been playing second base these days, but for him, it's like learning to ride that bicycle, and he comes up with another solid play at second base. 2 down, and here comes Holt. The major leaguers with 3,000 hits, 500 stolen bases, and 90 triples. Pretty talented people. Ichiro Suzuki, Lou Brock, Paul Molitor, then going way back, Eddie Collins, Honus Wagner, and Ty Cobb. The 1-0 pitch on the corner. Dodgers will play in Miami in September, so they'll have one last look at the famous Ichiro. 1-1 pitch on the way. 2-1. Here's the 2-1 pitch on the way. And ball 3. McCarthy is fighting it, but he's only walked 1. Holt's the man who got the walk. But then, of course, he got wild. So put it all together. He's walked 3 and hit a batter. That's a strike. 3-2 to Brock Holt. Brian Halladay, the catcher, on deck. Three and 2. And that's ball 4. So McCarthy walked 5 in his last game. He's walked 4 and hit a batter right now. Brian Halladay grounded into a double play. The Red Sox have hit into 2 double plays in the first 3 innings. Halladay batting .235. Now Holt over there at first base has stolen 3 out of 5. So they're down to the number 7 hitter. They've already run a little bit on McCarthy. Betts stole in the first inning. Benintendi stole in the third. McCarthy watching him and misses, ball 1. The left-hander Luis Avilan was up once already in the Dodger bullpen. One ball and no strikes. And that's ball 2. Looking at Brock Holt's past, he's stolen as many as 17 and 11. With the Red Sox last year, he stole 8 out of 9. So they had best watch him. 2-0 count. And ball 3. Waiting quietly on deck, Andrew Benintendi, who picked up a base hit in the third inning and stole second. 3-0. And ball 4. It is amazing, and this is an amazing game. As they say, a lot of it is played between the ears. As Rick Honeycutt will see if he gets Avilan up a second time. 2 on walks, and here's Benintendi. The young fella a year ago was signed, played in the big leagues, and here he is playing right now for the Red Sox. Fastball hit down the left field line, slicing away and going foul and out of touch. Great effort by Rob Seguin, going into a slide, hoping he might be able to catch it while he's in the dirt. Josh Field, the right-hander, gets up, not Avilan, in the Dodger bullpen. So Benintendi, who just turned 22. He singled in the 3rd inning. That's when the Red Sox loaded the bases, but Bogaerts hit into a double play. 0-1. One and one. Red Sox #1 pick last year. The 7th overall pick in the amateur draft last year was Andrew Benintendi, joining some pretty big names. 1-1 pitch is whacked to right field. That's a base hit. Racing over to cut it off is Hendrick to get it back into the infield. Scoring easily from second base is Hope. Benintendi is now 2 for 2, drives in a run, and the Red Sox lead 2-0. Other 7th round overall picks in the amateur draft. 2010 it was Matt Harvey. 2006 Clayton Kershaw. 2005 Troy Tulowitzki. 2002 Prince Fielder. 1989 Frank Thomas. And way back in 1965, catcher Ray Fosse. So Benintendi is certainly in some great company and looks like he's a winner. 2 for 2. Well, Honeycutt checking to see if Fields is about ready. Here's David Price with 2 out. Price not a hitter, so it figures if they get some strikes, he'll be in good shape. You don't expect Benintendi to try to run with 2 out and a weak hitting pitcher, and now hold everything. Here comes Dave Roberts. So McCarthy, and it takes an awful lot when you think about it to go into the windup, twist your body, raise your leg, stay on the rubber, and then from about 60 feet, or considering your stride a lot less, throw strikes. And for Brandon, it was easy at one time. Right now he's struggling with it. So he goes out with runners at first and third, 2 runs in, and we'll be right back.
46, Josh Fields.
pride to throw a ball from the mound towards home and to throw it to a particular spot. You'll understand what happened to Brandon McCarthy. I mean, he was so wild, you couldn't believe it. Not for a big league pitcher. He kept looking down as if there was a bad area, but there wasn't. He was just wild, not missing by inches. About as wild as you'll see a big league pitcher. The big thing now, Brandon has to get over it. I mean, he's been around a long time. He's pitched for many years, and somehow or other, he'll go to the bullpen and try to work it off. But it is a nightmare for any pitcher, and especially a very successful, knowledgeable right-hander like Brandon McCarthy. So David Price doesn't figure to be a problem. Ball one. But even then, they didn't want Brandon McCarthy up there where he's liable to walk him. On deck, Mookie Betts. Price tried to bunt, popped it up to Justin Turner in the third inning. That's a strike. 1-1. So Price certainly doesn't figure to be much if you get the ball in the strike zone. He is 0 for 5. He has struck out 4 of his 6 at-bats. Ball 2, 2-1. Crowd suddenly murmurs, a little anxious that Fields falls behind. Over at third base, Holiday, the catcher. Benintendi at first. 2-1. And a little nubber foul. 2 balls and 2 strikes to David Price. David at 6'6", 225. Born in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Went to school at Vanderbilt and lives in Nashville. He'll be 31 the end of the month. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2-0. That'll do it for Price and for the Red Sox. However, 2 walks and a base hit. So McCarthy goes out, trailing, however, only by 2. And we'll go to the bottom of the 4th. 2-0 Sox. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by the Dodge Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today. And by Jack in the Box. Taste the all-new Jack's Brewhouse Bacon Burger today had Jack in the Box. Limited time only at participating restaurants. Back in 2004, October the 17th, a big stolen base by Dave Roberts that led the Red Sox to come from behind and beat the Yankees 6-4. As Dave looks on, for those playing that Red Sox uniform, has to bring back a lot of memories. Meanwhile, David Price working on Turner. A fly ball to deep left. Going back is Benintendi to the flat at the wall. Gone. For Justin Turner, his 20th home run. 65 runs batted in. And the Dodgers inch closer now. 2-1 Boston. For David Price, that would be the 18th home run that he's given up. The last home run hit by Justin Turner was at Colorado. That would be the 3rd of August. That cleared the wall as Benintendi stood hoping it might hit the wall and come back. So the Dodgers on the board. Adrian Gonzalez going after the first pitch, 0-1. So Justin with his 20 tops on the squad. David Price, a strikeout pitcher, has 1, and then he got Seager. There's another drive going into right center. That is playable to the wall, and Gonzalez into second base, standing with a double. So the Dodgers come right back. Home run, double. Tying run at second base, nobody out. And Hernandez, Reddick, and Grandal coming up. So Adrian whacks it up the gap, and he's standing as the tying run. That would be the 19th double for Adrian Gonzalez. So the Dodgers tying run at second. Kike Hernandez, Josh Reddick, and Yasmani Grandal. Kike walked in the second inning. And ball 1. Price picked up his 1,000th strikeout in June 2 years ago against the Astros. It was nice, he said, but it stinks because they lost the game 3-1. Here's the 1-0 pitch on the way. Shoots that pitch in for a strike. I'm not sure if it still holds up, but they always said that David Price was the hardest throwing left-handed starter in baseball. There was a time where he averaged a hair under 95 miles an hour. 94.9 to be exact. In the dirt, 2-1. So Kike trying to pick up Gonzalez. 2-1 Red Sox, bottom of the 4th. Remember, the Giants lost today. Home run by Wilson Ramos beat Bumgarner 1-0. And that's it near foul, out of play. 2-2. So it's interesting. Steven Strasburg is 15-2. And his 2 defeats administered by the Dodgers and the Giants. That was last night. 2-2 to Kike. Too much time. And good fastball takes care of him at 94. So 1 out. Josh Reddick coming up. Reddick, a fly ball to left field in the second inning. 0 for 1. Picked up his first base hit as a Dodger yesterday. He was also robbed of a hit yesterday by David Ortiz playing first base. So Gonzalez, the tying run at second, 1 out. And ball 1. 1-0 the count. David Price, a much decorated ball player. Breaking ball, 1-1. The Cy Young Award winner, 2012, had his high school jersey retired in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Pitched the United States national team a complete game shutout over Nicaragua. He got the gold medal in the World University Baseball Championship. Fastball hit to short. The play is to third, and erased at third is Adrian Gonzalez, and apparently the tag was missed one way or another. He was going to be dead out. Can't believe they messed up that play. Bogart's throw was a little low. There's no argument.
Number 9, Yasmani Grandal.
But it was a bad play on Adrian's part. The throw had him beaten, and apparently Holt just didn't catch the throw. And looking at it now, we can see Holt has the ball get away. From up here, we couldn't see that. So that was a very bad play by Adrian Gonzalez. Let's face it, for a veteran player, and then a bad throw was another bad play. So that's a play the kids should forget about. Reddick is aboard on the fielder's choice. We'll see who gets the error at third. And here's Grandal. Still 2-1 Red Sox. 0-1. I mean, you're at second, the tying run. There's 1 out, and the ball is hit ahead of you, and yet you're going to try and go to third. I mean, let's face it, if Puig did that, you'd have a whole page of commentary. Puig, by the way, is playing in Des Moines, Iowa. 0-1 the count. Oh, and 2 the count. David Price, who said someday he'd like to skydive. Why is it always a left-hander? 0-2. First and third, 1 out instead of 2 out and a runner at first. So the Dodgers given a huge opportunity. No balls and 2 strikes to Grandal. Price ready, very deliberate, works it low, 1-2. By the way, in watching him work that deliberately, check the runners. With a runner at third, he has committed 3 wild pitches. 1 ball and 2 strikes. With Seguin hitting 8th behind Grandal. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Little slap foul outside of first. So in the inning, Turner hit his 20th home run of the year. Then Gonzalez probably doubled to right center. Hernandez struck out. And then the Red Sox just messed up, given a great opportunity to get Gonzalez, and they missed it. I don't know if they gave the error to Colt or to the throw. And there'll be no error. They're just calling it a fielder's choice. But of course, if you're watching the game, you know they missed a big play. The 1-2 pitch on the way. A little high. 2-2. Two runs, 2 hits for the Red Sox. 1 run, 3 hits for the Dodgers. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning. 1 out. 2-2 to Grandal. Fastball hit foul off to the right at 94. David Price's parents, father runs a warehouse. His mom is a healthcare provider. They were reading a book about Derek Jeter, and they were amazed by the similarities between the two families. 2-2 pitch. Ball 3. Combination of a black father who studied sociology in college and a white mother who studied accounting. His parents raising 2 brothers. They live about 35 miles southeast of Nashville. Well, he's gone as far as he can go without loading them up. 3-2 to Grandal. There goes the runner, and it's ball 4. So David Price had 2 quick strikes on Grandal and wound up walking him, so he is a distressed pitcher right now. Carl Willis, the pitching coach, going out to try and smooth his feathers after messing up a great opportunity to nail Gonzalez at third. Perhaps obviously distressed, David Price then walked Grandal. So the bases are loaded, 1 out. Rob Seguin will be coming up. For Seguin, he has a remarkable physical problem. He had a stress fracture of the vertebrae in the spine, played only 18 games, and when they were checking him out, they discovered femur defects that required labrum surgery and bone shaving in both hips. How do you like that? And somehow he got off the medical floor, battled his way back, and here he is in the big leagues. Bases loaded, 1 out, and his expecting wife is here, taking in the game. And ball 1. Seguin grounded to third. Robin Seguin right there, about 2 weeks from giving birth. You can imagine the emotions she's going through right now. Here's the 1-0 pitch on the way. Way outside. That reminds me of Mookie Betts' mom, the right fielder. She was bowling at 9:30 at night, went into labor at 11, and produced Mookie Betts. All right, David Price with a 2-0 count. Fastball whacked to center. Going back is Bradley. It's over his head, off the wall. 1 run will score. 2 runs will score. The next run will score. Rob Seguin doubles in 2, and the Dodgers lead 3-2. And be careful she doesn't deliver right now. What a sweet moment for Rob Seguin and his young wife. A drive over Bradley's head, off the wall, and 2 runs scored. Dodgers at first and third with 2 out, and the Dodgers leading 3-2. Look at Robin. She couldn't jump up, and we understand why. Filled with joy. Wow. Dad's not too happy himself, huh? So that'll bring up Josh Fields, the pitcher. 3-2 in favor of the Dodgers. First career major league hit, an RBI. Scott Van Slyke now will be the batter instead of Fields. With runners at second and third, the infield is up. And a slider low, ball 1. I think Price really had a sinking feeling after the Red Sox blew a simple play to get Adrian Gonzalez at third base. And a lot of things have changed since. Jesse Chavez begins to warm up in the Dodger bullpen. 1 ball and no strikes. And ball 2. So in the inning, it was 2-0 Red Sox. Turner homered, Gonzalez doubled, Hernandez struck out, Reddick's ground ball. Gonzalez tried to go to third. Bogart should have had him from me to you, and they messed up the play. For Gonzalez, violating a good base running rule and got away with it. Then the walk to Grandal after 2 strikes were on him, and then Segedin's double to drive in a couple, and the Dodgers have scored 3 in the inning, and the bases are loaded as Van Slyke draws the walk.
Second baseman,
Howie Kendrick will be coming up. Dodgers have Van Slyke, Segedin, and Grandal. Kendrick flied to right, topped the ball out in front of the plate, and was thrown out. Breaking ball misses. Howie Kendrick, a line drive hitter, especially likes to go to right field. Does not have a grand slam. He is the 8th man to come to the plate in the inning, and the Dodgers have scored 3. Fastball foul back, and the count 1-1. Kendrick 0 for 2. 67 pitches made by David Price. He's struggling here in the 4th inning. 1-1. Comebacker. Price to the plate. 1 to first. 2. So Howie Kendrick, a 1-2-3 double play, but the Dodgers still got off the floor, scored 3, take a 3-2 lead on the home run by Turner, and that 3 double by Rob Segedin. And at the end of 4, 3-2 Dodgers. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by HBO. Hard Knocks training camp with the Los Angeles Rams Tuesday at 10 p.m. Kicking off August 9th on HBO. Dodgers turn it around, led by Turner's home run. They got away by Gonzalez's mistake, and the big double by Rob Segedin to drive in 2, and it's 3-2 Dodgers, 5th inning. Jesse Chavez will now be the third Dodger pitcher as we go to the 5th inning. And by the way, if you were with us on that base running blunder by Adrian Gonzalez, there had to be an error involved some way. First they ruled a fielder's choice, and I kept thinking there's got to be an extra play. Now they've decided, since Gonzalez obviously should have been out, he was out from me to you, Brooke Holt, who didn't handle the throw, will be charged with an error. So the veteran gets a break. Dodgers lead 3-2. Mookie Betts walked, hit by a pitch. 2-1 the count. And ball 3. Chavez struggling in his limited time with the Dodgers. And a 3-1 ground ball to first, though Mookie taps out, 1 away. So the batter now, Jackie Bradley Jr., who is fly to center and walked. 3 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers, 2 runs, 2 hits for the Red Sox, and 2 errors. Remember, Brian Holliday, the catcher, dropped a foul ball, and then Brock Holt unable to handle a throw at third, allowing Gonzalez to be safe, and it turned out to be a huge play in that 4th inning. Oh, 1 to Jackie. When you're playing the Red Sox, you are extremely aware of the fact that they score a lot of runs. Coming into the game, they had scored 593 runs. The Dodgers 476. That'll be a strike, and Bradley knew it, just walked away. So Chavez comes in, gets 2 quick outs.
Shortstop Xander Bogaerts.
Xander Bogaerts coming up. Bogaerts had that scoring fly ball in the 1st inning to get Betts home. And then last came up with a couple of men on and hit into a double play. Fastball fouled off. Chavez, who is not a big man at all, Chavez probably weighs around 155 pounds, but he can still generate enough to get it up there at 95. 0-1. Chavez 6'2", and they say maybe 160, maybe. 1-1. He's from Victorville and lives in Riverside. Went to Riverside Community College. Picked by the Rangers back in 2002 in the 42nd round. Fastball fouled off. We mentioned the other day, Chavez lives in a home that's 100 years old, so he is very, very much into antiques. And that'll do it as far as Bogaerts is concerned. So Jesse has his best inning as a Dodger. Gets him 1-2-3, strikes out 2, and at the end of 4.5, 3-2 Dodgers. behind, lead 3-2. And in the bottom of the 5th inning, it'll be Corey Seager, Justin Turner, and Adrian Gonzalez. Remember, the Dodgers sent 8 men to the plate in the 4th inning. Seager is grounded out and struck out. Ball 1. Seager, very involved in the first pitch. He's 4th in the majors. He's had 76 at-bats that ended on the first pitch. 1-1. He does have 3 home runs, and it's paid off for him. A .368 batting average going after the first pitch. 3 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers, 2 runs, 2 hits for the Red Sox, each giving the other a shutout, and the rubber game. 2-1. Price falling behind. He's now made 72 pitches. Waiting on deck, Justin Turner. 3-1. And 2. And he goes to first. Turner coming up, and he ignited the fuse when he led off the 4th inning with a home run. And that ball breaking down below the knees, and he was able to muscle it just over the wall. Turner now with 20 home runs. He grounded out in the 1st inning. Dodgers 3 runs on 4 hits. David Price has not been a convincing pitcher at all. In the 1st inning, his earned run average is 4.8. Calms down a little in the 2nd inning, but in the 3rd, it's over 6. And in the 4th, it's about 8. And the 4th inning was his big trouble today. The 5th inning, he comes back to earth with an ERA of 3. 6th and 7th inning, he's been absolutely perfect. And then a horrible 8th inning. So his best innings really 5, 6, 7. 1 ball and no strikes. 1-1. A slow roller. Bogarts to second. The throw to first not nearly in time. So the force play goes 6-4. And the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez. Every ball player has a story. I mean, if you're in the big leagues and you spend half of every year on the road. And for David Price, he goes back to the summer of 2009. He was with the Rays AAA Durham team, playing in Scranton. After the game, they went to their hotel of the Radisson-Lackawanna Station Hotel in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And before they got there, the players were talking about the hotel, saying it is definitely haunted. They've heard that from all the other players. So they went to the ballpark thinking maybe it is true. Maybe it is haunted. Stories of a woman ghost on one floor, all kinds of things. Well, 0-1 to Gonzalez. So David and his roomie, they checked in, Wade Davis, and it didn't take long for the hotel's reputation to get their attention. They started hearing knocking on the door. No one was ever there. Tried to sleep, but it got extremely hot in the room. they turned the air conditioner on to cool off, and it would shut off and go back to hot. Turn it down as cold as it could get, and it would immediately warm back up. Then they started to hear weird noises, they said, coming out of the walls, kind of like screams. Well, at 7:30 in the morning, they were out of the hotel. So he can tell you about a haunted hotel. Of course, there's another one in the National League. The Dodgers travel there, and there have been a lot of stories about that hotel being haunted. Life on the road. 0-2 the count. Adrian will not be haunted by the bad base running play. He's lucky for that. They will only remember the double in the fourth inning. 0-2 to Adrian. High foul, out of play. 3 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. 2 runs, 2 hits, and 2 errors for the Red Sox. They scored in the first, came right back and scored again in the third, but they might have had more. They hit into 2 double plays in the first 3 innings. 0-2. Adrian yesterday had 3 singles to go 3 for 4. In the first game, he went 0 for 3. But at that time, that was the runaway game by Stephen Wright with the knuckleball. When Gonzalez flied out, he was the 15th batter in a row retired by Wright. Line down the left field line, in there. Over to get it is Benintendi. And on his way to first and stopping is Gonzalez. On his way to third easily is Turner. And the Dodgers are in business. So Adrian with 2 hits today, double and a single, scored a run. And here's Kike, who has walked and struck out. One out, bottom of the 5th. Dodgers lead 3-2. Kike playing center field against left-handers. Jock Peterson sits it down. First and third, 1 away. There goes the runner. The pitch is low, and then Adrian turns and runs back to first. So Adrian went a good 30 feet at least. He left a track. If you look down at the first base area, you can see exactly how far he left the bag. There he goes. Then the pitch in the dirt. One ball and no strikes. That's a strike. 1-1. David Price hitting 95 on the gun. Holiday keeping the infield alive on a 1-1 count. 5th inning, 1 out, 3-2 Dodgers. Clay Buchholz, right-hander, begins to throw in the Red Sox pen. Luis Avilan is up in the Dodger pen. Missed the corner. 2-1. So for Price, he's already made 86 pitches. And in the 5th, he has Turner at third, Gonzalez at first, and a 2-1 count. So we'll see if the Dodgers thinking about a play. Reddick on deck. We'll watch Gonzalez. He holds, and it's ball 3. So they didn't play hit and run 2-1. We'll see whether they're thinking about putting on a run and hit play. You know the idea. Run and hit, you're not obligated to swing at ball 4. 2-1. you're obligated to protect the runner. All right, 3-1. Gonzalez not going. And three and two. I think we got a call from Gary Soderstrom. At least we didn't see it. That's the no call. Okay, 3-2. First and third, one out. There goes Gonzalez. Big chopper to short. Backhanded, and the toss that gets off the glove of Pedroia. The Dodgers get a run as Turner scores. And the Dodgers lead 4-2. So Price is not getting any help defensively. Bogaerts had a tough play, admittedly, charging, having to backhand the ball, so he was very much out of the spot. And his high throw to Pedroia off Dustin's glove. It will be an error charged to Bogaerts. Dodgers taking advantage of it. So they have runners at first and second. A run in and lead 4-2 as Reddick checks in. Another fielder's choice and error charged to Bogaerts. So that will be the third Red Sox error. Foul ball, 0-1. So in the inning, Seager walked. Turner hit into a force play. Gonzalez single to left. Hernandez reaching on the error. Turner going back to get a little repair perhaps in the clubhouse. Reddick is flied to left and aboard on a fielder's choice. 0-1. High fly ball, waiting for it is Bradley. Makes the catch, runners hold. Two down, and Grandal coming up. Grandal singled and walked.
Money Grandal.
Four runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. 2 runs, 2 hits, and 3 errors for the Red Sox. Dodgers trying to take advantage of the fact that Bumgarner allowed 1 run and lost 1-0. Home run by Wilson Ramos of Washington. So a Dodger victory, they would be 1 game back of the Giants. So for Dave Roberts, he knows how important this one is. And with a 2-run lead, a chance to whittle it away. Chase Utley hanging around the batting back. See what he did? That was interesting. He took the bat, Utley did, held it up to his ear. He is listening. Bats can make a certain sound to a veteran hitter. They will hit the bat, listen, and if it has a sound, they know just how much wood is there, how the grain is. I mean, they're amazing, but it's like a carpenter with his tools. 2-0 to Grandal. 2 on, 2 out. 1 in. Dodgers lead 4-2. Two balls, 1 strike. Gonzalez at second. Hernandez at first. 2 out. Fastball foul back. Giants finished up in Washington. They're on their way to play Miami. They'll be arriving immediately following Ichiro's 3,000th hit. They'll play Miami Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, while the Dodgers play Philadelphia. Thursday, each team is off. Dodgers at home with Pittsburgh. Giants will be home with Baltimore. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on. Dodgers lead by 2. So the deuces are wild enough. 4-2 Dodgers. Fastball missed. The Price just making way too many pitches. He's made 96 and he's only in the 5th inning. John Farrell, former pitcher in his own right. John, once pitching for Cleveland, had a no-hitter and lost it on a base hit in the 9th inning. 3-2, so the runner's ready. Gonzalez and Hernandez. There they go on ball 4. So David, with the bases loaded, will be facing Rob Segedin. And the last time that happened in the 4th inning, remember, Segedin doubled over the head of Bradley off the center field wall. 2-run score, and his wife Robin expecting, well, you can imagine. There she is in the light colored dress and the sunglasses. So now another chance. 4-2 Dodgers. And ball 1, 1-0. David Price now getting close to 100 pitches. Segedin originally drafted by the Yankees out of Tulane University. 2-0. Leo DeRocher, in his subtle way, when a pitcher would be struggling like David Price, DeRocher would holler from the dugout always, "Stick a fork in him. He's done." Well, Price is right about at that age. He's ready to make his 100th pitch. And remember, he's 31. 2-0. And ground ball, base hit into right field. 1 run scores. 2nd run coming. That will score. Throw to 3rd and the out. But 2 runs are in the bank. And Rob Segedin has done it again, driving in 4 runs in the 2 innings. And the Dodgers take a 6-2 lead. Meanwhile, it looks like we might have a play review, at least for the moment. And now Dave Roberts said, no, forget about the review. We'll be right back. Koufax retired in 1966. He had to wait 6 years to go into the Hall of Fame, and on this day in 1972 he did, at 36, the youngest inductee into the Hall of Fame, wouldn't you know. Let's go back to this one. One ball and no strikes. Boy, what a day for Rob Seguin. He has a double and a single, 4 runs batted in, and the Dodgers lead 6-2. David Price looks like he is done. Here's Pedroia, followed by Shaw. And there's activity in the bullpen. Left-hander is warming up for the Red Sox. And there's D. That would be Fernando Abad. 6 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers, 2 runs, 2 hits for the Red Sox. We'll repeat. Giants lost. Bumgarner lost a heartbreaker, 1-0 on a home run by the catcher for Washington, Wilson Ramos. You might remember Wilson Ramos. We told the story. He's from Venezuela and was kidnapped for a ransom and eventually caught and brought home. Pedroia twice flied to left field. Fly ball foul way off to the right. Center field and right field very much in the sun. Howie Kendrick turned and moved Reddick just about 3 feet to his left. Another foul ball, and I guess Howie Kendrick reading Pedroia's swing and what he's doing against Chavez, alerting Reddick, who's pretty new to the league. 3-2, Dustin Pedroia. Ground ball up the middle. Seager up while on the run, throws and got him. Nice play by Adrian at the other end. That's quite a combination, Seager and Gonzalez. Seager makes some remarkable stops, and then Gonzalez makes some remarkable plays on those off-balance throws that usually aren't on the money. Another great play. Good combo, and one away. Dave Roberts now coming out. You have 2 left-hand hitters in a row, Shaw and Holt. You have a left-hander, Avilan, in the pen, and they're going to make the move. So for Chavez, that's his best performance since he became a Dodger. Retired 4 in a row while striking out 2. And we'll be back right after this. athlete, nominate him for a chance to be named a Time Warner Cable Sports Championship Drive Scholar Athlete of the Year. Receive a $2,500 college scholarship. So go to twcschamp.com now for more information. Luis Avilan in his 16th game, collecting himself before getting ready to pitch to Travis Shaw. Right side of the infield, squinting in, Howie Kendrick, Adrian Gonzalez. In the outfield, in center field, Hernandez, once he goes to his right, he's in shade. But Reddick being moved a little bit to his right out there in sunny right field. Shaw flied to left, grounded to second. Travis 0 for 2. Keep looking, can't believe it. He was nice enough to come up to the booth and say hello. That little 10-year-old we saw running around here, Jeff Shaw's son, and here he is. 1-1. The other night, Shaw hit a home run. It lit up the entire dugout. 1-1. They're going to check swing, says Chad Whitson. Shaw came into the game hitting .264, 14 home runs, and pushes one into left field. Looked like he was jammed, and he's big enough and strong enough to go the other way. So Shaw 1 for 3 with the single. And Brock Holt coming up. Brock Holt will not come to the plate. They'll go to the bench, and we'll see who's coming up to hit in his stead. That looks like Aaron Hill. Yep, sure enough. So Hill batting for Holt. Holt, left-hand batter. They don't want him to face Avilan. So here's Aaron. Hill, of course, spent a solid career in the National League. Whoa, ball one. 1-0. For the Dodgers, it's McCarthy, Fields, Chavez, and now Avilan. And at the plate, Aaron Walter Hill. Spent a long time in the American League with the Blue Jays, then with the Diamondbacks, the Brewers, and now back in the American League again. 1-1 the count to Aaron. Born in Visalia, lives in Scottsdale now, and went to school at LSU. The amazing thing, he repeated whenever we see him, he hit for 2 cycles in a 10-day period. Line drive down the left field line, that's going to go to the fence. So there'll be runners at second and third, and now Butterfield waves in the runner. The relay to Turner, and no play at the plate. So Aaron Hill doubles down the left field line to drive in Shaw. That makes it 6-3 Dodgers. And Brian Halladay, the catcher, will be coming up. So Hill smokes one, scoring Shaw easily. Avilan walking around the grass now. Joe Blanton gets up as Shaw scores without a play. So Travis made the tour, single to left, scores from first on the double by Hill. 1 out, and here's Halladay. And he lines a bullet foul. 0-1. That ball was hit hard. The ball girl just did get that glove in front of it. Nice play. Meanwhile, Avilan has given up a flare single and a line drive double. 6 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers. 3 runs, 4 hits, and 3 errors for the Red Sox. Oh and 1. Oh and 2. Benintendi is out on deck, the young left-hand hitting left fielder, and he's 2 for 2 today with a single to left and a single to right. One out. Second base, Aaron Hill. Dodgers put back-to-back trays. 3 in the 4th, 3 in the 5th. Lead 6-3. Holiday hit into a double play and walked. Chasing a breaking ball in the dirt, and that'll do it for Holiday. No advancement by Hill, and with 2 out, the batter will be Benintendi, who single to left, single to right. Benintendi's had 11 at bats, and he is 4 for 11, just beginning his career. Benintendi from Cincinnati. Fernando Abad, left-hander, throwing in the Sox bullpen. Bryce Brentz, who appeared in the first game, is out on deck. He would bat for the pitcher if the inning continues. All right, Benintendi checks in. Avilan is ready. Aaron Hill at second with 2 out. Six runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers. 3 runs, 4 hits for the Red Sox. And ground foul, 0-1. Benintendi listed at 5'10", about 175 pounds. Oh and 1. And popped in the air, foul, no play. Grandal takes a look. No balls and 2 strikes. Benintendi was a legendary high school career player. They called him the Ohio Hit King, even though about 5'10", 170. His teammates loved him in high school and at the University of Arkansas. Oh and 2. In the dirt, 1 and 2. When Benintendi was at Arkansas, he won just about every award possible. He won the Golden Spikes Award, the Dick Hauser Award, Collegiate Baseball Magazine Player of the Year, Baseball America Player of the Year. He led the whole conference in home runs, batting average, slugging, on base, walks. He was just amazing. 1-2. And he strokes it into right field. Base hit. Hill rounding third will score without a play. So young Benintendi is 3 for 3. Singles to right. And the Red Sox inch a little closer. It's 6-4 Dodgers. So Bryce Brent's coming up after that clean base hit to right. And the Dodgers will probably make a double switch. And Dave is pointing to Rob Segedin. So it looks like Segedin, who singled, but then the out was recorded at third. Dodgers will bring Chase Utley to play second base. Howie Kendrick will go to left field, I believe. And they'll be bringing in a new pitcher. While all that's going on, we'll be back. On Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at choosenissan.com. And by Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We treat kids better. Rob Segedin with 2 hits and 4 runs batted in. Gets a round of applause, handshakes, and high fives. Segedin coming out. He singled, but the last out was at third base. So Joe Blanton will bat in Segedin's spot. Chase Utley now at second base will bat ninth. And here comes the big fella, David Ortiz. Before the 2005 season began, the Red Sox presented Ortiz with a plaque. And the plaque said, the greatest clutch hitter in the history of the Boston Red Sox. Well, remember, that was 11 years ago, and he's still doing his thing. Batting .309, 25 home runs, 87 runs batted in. And ball one. Ortiz played yesterday, just hit under the ball in his second at bat in the third inning against Ross Stripling. Hit a long fly ball to center, but he just missed hitting that one out. 6-4 Dodgers. 1-1 off speed. Ortiz way out in front of it. Blanton has faced him before, I'm sure, because remember, Joe spent a good 4 years with the Oakland A's, and everybody wants a picture of Big Papi. 1-1. That's low, ball 2. 2-1. Papi has bad feet, and playing 5-6 innings yesterday, his legs stiffened up, so there was no way he could play today. But here he is, 2-1. And 3-1. On deck, Mookie Betts. So the kid from Santo Domingo, David Ortiz. Actually, it's a moment I'm sure the fans were looking for. Right now, for them, it's like going to a scary movie. 3-1. Ortiz, 528 home runs. He'll be 31 in November. He is 6'4" and a generous 230. And they pitch around him, and he walks. So Ortiz not only walks, it allows Betts coming up with the tying runs aboard. We'll have to have a runner, I would think, for Ortiz. No one coming out of the Red Sox dugout yet. Ortiz spent over an hour with a therapist getting a rundown, legs and feet, but he's staying at first with 2 out. All right. Mookie Betts walked, hit by a pitch, grounded out, 0-for-1. And a strike, 0-1. Betts has been remarkable with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, hitting an amazing .486. And he probably bangs it into left field. They are going to run on the throw from Kendrick, and the run is in. What the Dodgers did, knowing that Kendrick doesn't have an outfielder's arm, they had Turner, the relay man, well in on the grass. And Turner fired. It was very close, but a nice slide by Benintendi brings in the run. Take another look. There's a line drive again. Betts producing. Here comes Benintendi. Here's the relay by Turner. No tag. The hand will be on the plate, and by the time the catcher turns around, no play. Stephen Wright is now going to run for David Ortiz, and Big Papi gets a hero's welcome. Clutch walk. Mookie Betts is just amazing, isn't he? With runners in scoring position and 2 out. So it's 6-5 Dodgers, and ball 1 to Jackie Bradley Jr. Stephen Wright, who shut the Dodgers out with the knuckleball, taking the lead at second. He represents the tying run. That's a strike. 1-1 to count. For the Red Sox, they still have the backup catcher Sandy Leon. They also have Hanley Ramirez. Here's the 1-1 pitch, and that's lifted foul off third. No play, and the count 1-2. So it started off with Hanley Ramirez just waiting for his moment. 6 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers, 5 runs, 6 hits, and 3 errors for the Red Sox. Bradley Jr. is fly to center, walked and struck out. Bradley came in hitting .289. No throw, but they might have had a play out there. Seager picking the hat up out of the dirt and handing it to Wright. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Fastball inside corner. Great pitch. Bradley Jr. can't believe it, but down he goes, slamming the bat into the dirt. The plate umpire, Cedarstrom, just turns his back. Here's the pitch, and he's caught looking. It's 6-5 Dodgers. Brock Holt and doubled, takes over at third base, and Fernando Abad, A-A-D, on the mound. Abad from La Romana, that's a wonderful resort in the Dominican Republic. He's 6'2", 205. He'll be 31 in December and was originally signed by the Astros way back in 2002. Took him a while to get to the big leagues. He started really in the rookie league, and the first time he got to the big leagues would be 2010. So that's a good 8 years in the minors. Chase Utley will lead it off, batting ninth, then Kendrick and Seager as Abad goes to work. Fastball strike, 0-1. So Utley came in the double switch. Kendrick went to left. Utley takes over at second. Oh, and 1. Checked on the inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Abad appeared briefly back in 2013 with Washington. Fastball can get up to 97, they say. Good hard sinker, curveball, and a change. 1-1. Abad with a record of 1-5, 0-1 since he came over to the Red Sox. And he misses away, 2-1. Six to 5, favor of the Dodgers. Big slow curveball for a strike. Big pitch. 2-2. Abad learned to re-grip the ball after playing catch with the closer for the Nationals 3 years ago, Rafael Soriano. 2-2. Another slow curveball to take care of Utley. 1 out, 6th inning. Hey friends, come to the Dodger game August 23rd. Giants and Dodgers. First 40,000 in attendance receive a pair of Dodger headphones presented by Coca-Cola. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Howie Kendrick flied to right, topped the ball out in front of the plate, and hit into a double play. Ground ball hard, but right to Bogart. 2 down. And the batter will be Corey Seager.
Shortstop, number 5, Corey Seager.
Seager grounded to short, struck out, walked, and scored a run. Well, check me on the run. He was forced by Turner. Hitting .301. That's that slow curveball again, and it's for a strike. 0-1. Fastball, sinker, curve, changeup. Fastball missed. That's the two-seamer, the sinker. Fernando Abad. That's the breaking ball off the plate. 2-1 the count. That slow breaking ball, and the hitter's way out in front of it. He calls a changeup and a super change. When he throws the super change, he opens his fingers wider on the ball. 2-2. Little ground ball right to first base. Shaw takes it to the bag. A 1-2-3 inning. First time that's happened to the Dodgers really since the 3rd inning. And at the end of 6-5 Dodgers. The calendar, the Dodgers have 3 with the Phils starting tomorrow night, with Wednesday a 12-10 game. They're off on Thursday, and they wrap up the homestand 3 with the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're in the 7th, 6-5 Dodgers, and a strike to Xander Bogaerts. Bogaerts scoring fly ball in the 1st inning, hit into a double play in the 3rd, and struck out in the 5th. 1 ball and 1 strike. Bogaerts, like so many kids either from Curacao or Aruba, speaks about 4 languages: English, Papiamento, Dutch, and then Spanish he learned. It helped him a great deal in the minor leagues. Then he started to drop the language, and then the more baseball he played over here, the more Spanish he learned. So he does pretty well in 4 languages. 2-1. Foul ball. 2-2. For the Dodgers, it's been McCarthy, Fields, Chavez, Avilan, and Blanton. And for the Red Sox, Price and Abad. Dodgers have been using up their players. They have Jock Peterson and A.J. Ellis. Ellis, of course, they'll hold back. Utley just getting into the game, and down in the bullpen, Pedro Baez begins to warm up. 3-2 to Bogaerts. Got him. So for Bogaerts, he strikes out, and that means back-to-back the B-boys, Bradley and Bogaerts, they have struck out 4 times. And the batter is Pedroia. Blanton got Bradley in the 6th, now Bogaerts in the 7th. Pedroia, 2 fly balls to left and a ground ball to short. Ball 1. Pedroia, with the World Series in Denver, was denied entrance to the ballpark, trying to go to the locker room. They can describe Pedroia as being a big little man with a loud voice, and he challenged the guard. The guard said, "You don't look like a ball player." He said, "I have identification." "Oh, you can print that." Pedroia said, "Okay, talk to Jeff Francis, the big pitcher. I just hit a home run against him last night." Foul ball. Pedroia is 5'8", maybe 170 pounds, but he was Rookie of the Year in 2007, MVP in 2008. He's a tough guy. He gets hurt and he plays. We talked about it, how he had the bad thumb that needed surgery. He said, "Okay, I'll have the surgery after the season," and he played 157 games with the bad thumb. Dustin Pedroia will be 33 on the 17th. Dodgers will be in Philadelphia. Two and two. Fouled away. Pedroia in 2011 had 21 home runs and 91 runs batted in. He is a far cry from looking like a home run hitter, but he is dangerous. Pedroia right now has 12 home runs, 46 runs batted in. And he hits one to Gonzalez. Adrian to the bag. So 2 down in the 7th. Travis Shaw coming up. Travis Shaw flied to left, grounded to second, and then singled in the 6th inning. Dave Roberts going out, and let's see as he takes the ball from Blanton. Yep. Well, they've had Pedro Baez throwing in the pen. You have left-hander Shaw, right-hander Hill coming up, and we'll be right back.
Is your attention, please? Now pitching for the Dodgers, number 52.
Sportsnet LA is brought to you by BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers. Dodger fans, get the feeling and the spirit with the music in the background. Boys and girls together watching Pedro Baez get ready. Baez will be pitching to Travis Shaw and then Aaron Hill. Pedro, 3-2, ERA 2.6. And look at the strikeouts, 57 to 13. So it's a little better than 4-1. Travis Shaw, 1 for 3, singled in that wild 6th inning when the Red Sox got back in the game and scored 3 times. 2 down, bases empty, and Baez going to work. So it's been McCarthy and Fields and Chavez and Davila and Blanton and now Baez. That's a strike, 0-1. Dodgers playing very deep. The one thing they don't want is an extra base hit. So they're about as far out as you will see right now. 7th inning. And a fly ball down the line, slicing foul, will back out of play. So Travis Shaw trying to get something going with 2 out. He got something going with 1 out when he singled in the 6th inning. At a Washington Courthouse, Ohio. 6'4", 235, 26 years old. His dad, Jeff, played here 1998 through 2001. And he comes up empty this time, and down he goes. So it's a 1-2-3 inning. And at the end of 6 1/2, 6-5, Dodgers. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning. Dodgers trying to hold on Once upon a time, they led 6-2. Now it's 6-5. And for Boston, they bring in their third pitcher, and that would be Junichi Tazawa. He's from Yokohama. Selected out of Japan in 2009 and made it to the Red Sox in 2011. 5'11", 180. Ready to go to work against Justin Turner. Tazawa, a few years ago, the league's MVP. And ball one to Turner. Tazawa, 30 years old. Turner grounded to short, homered, hit into a force play. Scored 2 runs today. Foul back, 1-1. Dodgers had a young player from Australia many years ago, Craig Shipley. Shipley is now the vice president of international scouting for the Red Sox. Craig took a look at Tazawa pitching against Cuba and decided they wanted him. He was only 21 years old at the time. 2-1. Two and one to Justin. Fastball, low ball 3. Tazawa had passed through at least 3 drafts where Japanese teams did not draft him out of high school. It's amazing that the day that he did pitch and the Red Sox people saw him, they were sold on him. Otherwise, he'd probably still be in Japan, maybe working for an industrial team, but certainly not in the big leagues. But here he is. Three and one. That's a strike. 3-2. In August of 2009, Tazawa became the youngest pitcher from Japan to earn a win in his first major league start. Fastball, slider, and a splitter or a forkball. And that's popped up. Angling across. Pedroia. Shaw instead goes all the way to make the catch. 1 out in the 7th. Adrian Gonzalez coming up. The entire field in shade. The lights are on. Adrian Gonzalez fly to center, doubled, singled, and checking in. A beautiful day in the ballpark. 79 degrees when the game started, and very pleasant right now. That's a strike. 0-1. Because of his somewhat unusual delivery, Tazawa hurt his arm and had to have Tommy John surgery. Like every Japanese pitcher we have ever seen, he hesitates a split second before the delivery. The theory, I'm sure, is for the arm to stay with the body. Right there. And a strike. 1-2. One and two. in the dirt. Tazawa had the Tommy John surgery in 2010. Came back in 2011, but started on the DL, letting the arm recover. Tazawa's 5'11", 180. Fastball hammered to right center field. No doubt about it. Gone. Adrian Gonzalez with 3 hits today and the 300th career home run for him. Isn't it ironic? A fellow played for the Padres and played for the Red Sox would hit the 300 for the Dodgers against the Red Sox. 3 hits today, he had 3 hits last night. They have 6 hits in the last 2 games, and it's a big moment, I'm sure, for Adrian. 300 home runs. David Ortiz has 528. And that's ball 1 to TK. Here they are, the 300 club as a Dodger. Duke Snider and Gil Hodges against the Cubs' Dick Drott. Then Sheffield against the Rockies' Denny Nagel and Adrian off Tazawa. Late break on that for a strike. 1-1. Big moment for Adrian Gonzalez. 300 home runs. 1-1. 2-1. TK walked, struck out, reached on an error. Red Sox have made 3 errors today. Dodgers led 3-2 after trailing 2-0. Then it got close 6-5. Now it's 7-5. And there's a drive to left field. Back goes Benintendi. That one is gone. And it is 8-5 in favor of the Dodgers. Tazawa had given up 5 home runs going in. 5 home runs in 30 some odd innings. And he gives up 2 more now. So the Dodgers, again, a comfortable 3-run lead, leading in 5. Back-to-back, Gonzalez and Hernandez. For Kike, who hasn't played that much, he now has 7 home runs. In fact, check me, that would be a 6th, right? And ball 1 to Josh Reddick. Remember, the Giants lost today. Madison Bumgarner lost 1-0. A home run by Wilson Ramos, the catcher for Washington, that came in the 7th inning, and it was enough to beat him. So Hernandez follows Gonzalez with a home run. 1-1 to Reddick. 1-2. Reddick flied to left, reached on a fielder's choice, and flied to center. Junichi Tazawa. Reminds us to tell you, in case you missed it, Ichiro Suzuki came up with his 3,000th hit in Colorado. He hit it high off the scoreboard in right field, and it was a triple. So a triple for his 3,000th hit. And remember, Ichiro's going to be 43 in October, and he was flying around the base path. 1-2 the count to Josh Reddick. 8-5 Dodgers, scoring a lot of runs late. 3 in the 4th, 3 in the 5th, and 2 in the 7th. 2-2. Price, Abad, and Tazawi. The Dodgers so far using 6 pitchers, starting with Brandon McCarthy. Then Fields, Chavez, Avilan, Blanton, Baez. There'd be 8-5. 3-2. Baez, remember, is due to hit number 8 in the lineup. Chase Utley in the double switch bats 9th. Grandal is on deck. Big crowd today. A little over 50,000. Fastball, good break at the end of it. Down he goes. The paid attendance tonight, 50,640. And they had a chance, among other things, to see Yasmani Grandal come up. And they saw Adrian Gonzalez hit the home run. And on the heels of that home run, up came Kike Hernandez, and he hits it out. Grandal has singled and walked twice. Off-speed pitch for a strike, 0-1. The Red Sox are due to send up Hill, then the catcher Holiday, and then the wonderkid in left field. Benintendi is 3-4-3 out there, the young left fielder. 1-1. Baez waiting on deck. That's a rare experience for a relief pitcher. Almost hit him. For Baez in the on deck circle, we was talking about a rare appearance. He's not had an at bat, but now he's getting to feel like he's an on deck hitter waiting to go up there. 2-1. 3-1. Corey Seager, Adrian Gonzalez comparing verbal notes. The veteran and the kid. Meanwhile, Kike Hernandez looks on. He's had a walk and a home run, and that runs away. And for the 3rd time today, Grandal draws a walk. Well, it could be as John Farrell looks on, Grandal's going to wind up going 1 for 1. They get a right-hander up in the pen for the Red Sox. Tazawa has been struggling. Clay Buchholz is up again. So here is Baez in his first at-bat. First career at-bat. Wow. One ball and no strikes. Sure, Pedro's probably thinking, took me a long time to get here. Now that I'm here, what do I do? They'll tell him, just head to first and keep on making lefts. And ball 2. Tazawa came in and got Turner to pop up, but then Gonzalez hit one into right center field for a home run. Hernandez then hit a home run to left field. After Reddick strikes out, he walks Randall. Dodgers, if they can hold on to the lead and win, will be trailing the Giants by 1. Two and 0. And a swing and a fly ball to left field coming in a hurry is Benintendi and makes the catch. Well, the home run celebrations down in the dugout. Hernandez and Adrian Gonzalez. First it was Adrian on that big 300th home run, and then Kike on his 6th. Put it all together, and the Dodgers lead 8-5. Bobblehead Tuesday, August 9th. Dodgers and the Phillies. Kendrick bobbleheads will be available to the first 40,000 fans in attendance, courtesy of Farmer John. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Well, the large crowd, 50,640, seeing quite a ball game. Red Sox were out in front 2-0. Dodgers scrambled twice with 3 runs to lead 6-2. Red Sox came right back with 3 to get close, and then Adrian Gonzalez and Kike Hernandez opened it up again. Aaron Hill, who came into the game as a pinch hitter in the 6th inning and doubled to left, will start it off. Hill, then Holiday, and Benintendi. That's a strike at 97. 0-1. So Baez in his first major league at bat and hit a fly ball to left field. Now trying to get some outs. We're in the 8th. That was off speed and missed. 1 ball and 1 strike. Dodgers using 6 pitchers today. Brandon McCarthy completely out of rhythm and had to come out. And a high fly ball to right center. It's playable. It's coming right to Reddick. TK was racing over as if he had the play, but Reddick had it easily all the way. Of course, they've never played together out there in the outfield, so they had best get their signals.
Brian Holiday.
So one away, Brian Holiday hit into a double play, walked and struck out. Red Sox began the day 2 games behind Baltimore and Toronto. (8-5) Dodgers, 8 runs, 8 hits. Red Sox 5 runs, 6 hits, 3 errors. Ground ball to short, Seager. And that'll bring up Benintendi. Single to left and twice single to right.
Number 40, Andrew Benintendi.
Andrew 3-for-3 coming into the game. He had 2 hits. He was 2 for 9. Now all of a sudden he is 5 for 12. Strike, 0-1. Oh, and 1. And a high fly ball. Kike is there. So a very quick inning for Baez. 1, 2, 3 in the 8th. And we're heading for the bottom of the 8th. 8-5 Dodgers. Bottom of the 8th inning. Clay Buchholz coming in to be the 4th pitcher for Boston. Buchholz has been in the organization since he was a first-round pick back in 2005. And, of course, his big moment, September the 1st, 2007, he threw the 17th no-hitter in Boston Red Sox history, tossing the no-hitter against the Orioles. And he was the first Red Sox rookie to throw a no-hitter. 2009, Clay came within 3 outs and a single of a perfect game for Pawtucket. So he's had a lot of ability, and he's played well and long for the Red Sox. 6'3", a slender 190, and Utley takes a strike. 0-1. Chase hitting .251. Off speed. That's in there nicely for a strike. 0-2 the count. Buchholz will be 32 on the 14th. And of course, Chase right there at 37. 0-2. Comebacker. One away. Say friends with MLB TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. So Utley back to the box, and we have one quick out. Howie Kendrick flied to right, tapped one out in front of the plate to be thrown out, hit into a double play, and grounded out. So Howie is 0 for 4. One and one. Ball 2. Looking ahead, when the Red Sox come up in the 9th inning, it'll be the pitcher spot, followed by Betts and Bradley, and if anybody gets on, Bogarts. Dodgers having some fun in the dugout. Howie fouls it off. And who is the lucky warrior carrying all those? It's Alex Wood, the left-hander, along with Scott Kazmir, and they're loading up on Woods. Clayton Kershaw, the leader. 2-2. Whoa. Fastball up and in late in the day. 3-2. Look at the devilish look, like a little kid. Well, they are little kids, really. Woods oblivious, I think. Maybe not. 3-2. And that's banged into center for a base hit. So Kendrick hits a breaking ball for a single. His first hit of the day. 9 hits for the Dodgers, along with their 8 runs. Corey Seager grounded to short and struck out, walked and grounded out, hitting .301. Corey lately really becoming a first ball swinger. And a strike. You knew just as soon as I said he's becoming a first ball swinger, you knew he would take the pitch. 0-1. All right, second ball hitter. Fly ball. That's Bradley Jr. out there. Kenley Jansen gets up now in the Dodger bullpen. He hasn't thrown yet, but he will be in a minute after a little drink of water. Justin Turner grounded to short, hit a home run, hit into a force play, and popped up. He has scored twice, hitting .275, and with 20 home runs, he's big man on the club. Ball 1. In looking at the Red Sox and their lineup and their dugout, they have Hanley Ramirez, Bryce Brentz, and the catcher, last one to show, Sandy Leon. 1 ball and no strike. 8-5 Dodgers, bottom of the 8th. Pulled foul. 1-1. One and one the count to Justin Turner. 2 down. Kendrick at first. And a hard ground ball. One hopper to Bogarts. They get the force. So no runs, a hit, and a man left. And we're heading for the 9th. And so is Kenley Jansen. Dodgers 8, Red Sox 5. Defensive moves. Jock Peterson takes over in center field. The occupant had been Kike Hernandez, so he moves over to left field. So Kendrick comes out of the game, and Kenley Jansen coming in to try to tie a ribbon on the package with that great earned run average of 1.3. Jansen appeared in yesterday's game in the 9th inning. Struck out the side and made only 15 pitches. So let's see what he does now. Hanley Ramirez will start it off. So Ramirez, and timeout for the moment. A couple of fans skirmishing down the right field line, I think trying to get on the field. We won't show it. We certainly don't want to encourage that. We have 50,638 well-behaved fans, and 2 fellows decide perhaps they would run out on the field. So meanwhile, Jansen, all he can do, do you want to warm up? The plate umpire says you can. And Kenley said, no, that's okay, I'll wait. So in a moment, and it'll be a moment because they're going to have to take him all the way towards center field. It was 1-0 Red Sox. Then it was 2-0 Red Sox in the 4th. Dodgers came back with 3 to lead 3-2. Came back with 3 more to lead 6-2. Then the Sox came up with 3 of their own in the 6th inning to make it 6-5. And then the Dodgers had back-to-back home runs by Gonzalez and Hernandez in the 7th, and that brings us right up to date, 8-5 Dodgers. A reminder, the Giants lost, so if the Dodgers get the 3 outs, they will be trading the Giants by 1. All right, Kenley figured he had his warm-ups in the bullpen, so he didn't take any extra. And the first pitch, a strike. Hanley Ramirez hitting .275, 14 home runs, 62 runs batted in. Hanley in the first game 0 for 4 and struck out twice. And that's another strike. Ramirez appeared as a pinch hitter and struck out, and now pinch hitting once again. Hanley had a slight sprained wrist. He fell in Seattle going down the steps towards the clubhouse. Slipped, fell, tried to use his left hand to brace the fall, hurt the wrist, and strikes out again. So Hanley hurting, strikes out 4 times in the series, and the batter is Betts. And of course, for Kenley Jansen, he has faced 4 Red Sox hitters, and he has struck out all 4. 1 out. Mookie Betts walked, stole a base, scored a run, hit by a pitch, grounded out, and strangled. So he is 1 for 2. Fastball, strike. So the Red Sox saw a lot of Mariano Rivera, and now they're seeing Kenley Jansen. 0-1. Oh, and 2. Boy, he's something, isn't he? Wow. So Kenley has faced 5 hitters on a great offensive team, and he has struck out all 5. And with 2 out in the 9th, Dodgers holding on to an 8-5 lead. Here's Jackie Bradley Jr., who has struck out his last 2 times. He did have a walk back in the 3rd inning. The pitcher of record for this game, and that's a strike, would be Jesse Chavez, who made 20 pitches, an inning and a third, and he's the pitcher to pick up the victory, which is a nice way for him to begin his career as a Dodger. Don't forget the Phillies starting tomorrow night, and Wednesday a 12-10 game. For the Dodgers, a lot of pitchers, 7 pitchers, with Jansen coming in to shut him down. Fastball lifted foul and out of play. So the Dodgers at home trying to make it 2 out of 3 from baseball's top offensive ball club. And this crowd of 50,000 up and at him. One and 2. And fouled away again. Bradley flied to center, walked, struck out twice. Batting in the number 2 spot. Today, Bradley dropped down to hit 5th. Yesterday, 0 for 3. Kike, along with Gonzalez and Turner, home runs. And got him. Strike 3. So, 2 appearances, and Kenley Jansen strikes out 6. And the Dodgers are 1 game behind the San Francisco Giants and the Dodgers have Philadelphia coming here tomorrow night. Who would be the player of the game? How about Rob Segedin?